things are necessary. Continuing to push forward when you know for sure that a change of scenery or a career change is absolutely what's necessary to put you in a position where you can be living a life you enjoy. You're probably going to end up in a position like I did where your three pillars, your fitness, your family, and your business are going to take a hit. The goal is just to find a type of triangle that you can make sure all three of those pillars are harmonized, even if one is just getting a lot less attention than the other. Welcome to this edition of the Balanced CEO podcast. So today I'm going to bring you guys a solo episode. No interviews, no guests. This is just me talking from the heart. It'll be a short episode, but it's something I really like doing at least once every season. Did it last season about the hike, the Everest Challenge. This time I'm going to talk about endings. I'm reading a book recently called Necessary Endings. I'm not sure a better book could have come across my view at the time when it did. My wife and I were getting ready to pack everything up and move about 100 miles away to a town called Granite Bay. We're keeping the gyms. She's still going to work for her company in Stockton. You know, when you make a move like that, you don't realize like a lot of things are going to end. And I've really tried to navigate, how to handle that and the clarity that comes from kind of just understanding like any season, like, going from spring to summer, summer to fall to winter, there's things that come and go with that. There's changes in your environment. There's changes in your clothing. There's changes in behavior. In terms of the holidays, in terms of everything changes, right? And our season here in Tracy is coming to an end. It's been an incredible 15 years. We got here in January 2010, didn't really know anyone. And we've grown a handful of really special relationships. We've grown some relationships that have come and gone. Still grateful for the time. So grateful for the people that played a part in our growth here as people. But I think what's important is, understanding that regardless if you're making a move, if you're making a decision in your career, if you're making a decision in who you are as a person and just changing your circles you run with, the rooms you're stepping into, I think it's important to acknowledge that when you make these decisions, you're making these decisions for what's best for you, what's best for your family. In this case, we made a decision a few years ago that what was best for our family and the lifestyle we wanted to live and the amenities we wanted close to us and the environment we wanted our son to be raised in. Granite Bay checked all the boxes for us. And it just so happened a few months ago, we found the right house at the right time. Everything kind of came together and, we're making the move. And we knew that the gyms had to be sustainable on their own. We knew that, my wife's company had to be sustainable with her not being there every single day at the main office. And we had to know that our son was in a position to be able to adapt to this. And, everything I've read, it's, there's a kind of a cutoff point around, I think it's like 4th or 5th grade where it gets really difficult for them to adapt to a new environment. They've made close friends. It's just really difficult. So we felt like 2nd grade was a good time where that was still very possible for him to make those lifelong friendships and really just transition into really being the only thing he's going to really know or remember from his childhood. And, so we've decided to make this move and, going back to that endings thing, this is what the topic is about. When you make a move like this, you're going to have friendships that end. You're going to have business relationships that end. You're going to have relationships with locally owned companies and, service-based businesses that you've come to, be consistently using, whether it's hair or makeup or, grocery stores or restaurants. Like you're going to have to build all of these new relationships, find your favorite places, your go-to people for all these different things in a new area that you haven't explored, you don't have a lot of experience with. And, it's sometimes that can hurt people's feelings. Like, it might hurt some people's feelings that with this move, like our relationship is basically done. Like there's nothing about our relationship that is worth bringing along to the new location. And I think when you get to this point where you're at a resolution point of making a decision like this, you have to realize it might hurt somebody's feelings. Might hurt a lot of people's feelings. They might talk a lot of shit. They might wish you nothing but the worst. But as long as you're making these decisions and you're coming to the conclusion that it's time for this season of your life to end, whether it's a business, a friendship, a relationship, you're making the decision because it's what's best for you. And you're doing it with the intent to help yourself, knowing that it might hurt some people, but you're not intentionally harming anyone. I think that's that was a really important, impactful thing that was said in that book is, you might hurt some feelings. You might hurt some people's income because you're not a regular customer or client for them anymore, but you're not doing it in an effort to harm them. I'm pretty used to when people leave my gym, especially CFT, my CrossFit gym, and they're especially employees. They generally are, I don't know if they're embarrassed. I don't know if they're just struggling to cope with the finality of their decision, but it's like oftentimes they try to inflict damage. They try to hurt me, the company's reputation, my reputation, rather than just understanding, you might hurt some feelings. I don't take it personally. My goal is always to see people move on to the best, better situations and constantly striving to grow. So it never really hurts my feelings, but for whatever reason, they decide to inflict harm. And I think it's because they just can't come to grips with the resolution that this was the end of this season and that's okay. And you're moving on to what's better for you. And it's going to put you in a better position for yourself, your family, your friends, your own mental and physical health and well-being. And you should be celebrating that. And that's what I'm going to do. As we make this transition over the next 30 days into our new home and start preparing for our life, full-time living in Granite Bay, I'm grateful for the people that supported me through this last 15 years. I'm grateful for the people that showed their true colors and taught me how to handle harm and how to handle shit talkers and rumor mongers and people that are fake and, just how to rise above that and keep moving forward. I'm grateful for the opportunities I've had here at CFT to grow and create opportunities for other people. I'm grateful for the opportunities I've had for my son to get an incredible education at his local charter school, Delta Charter. I'm grateful to have made some friendships that I know will absolutely last and come with me to Granite Bay. But ultimately, I'm most grateful for the fact that Tracy is where my wife and I grew up as adults, became homeowners, became business owners, learned the fruits of hard work and busting your ass, learned how to become parents, and ultimately learned how important it is to put ourselves first and put our family first. Because in the end, most friendships and most relationships are here for a season or a reason. They're not here forever. And necessary endings has really just given me that clarity that this move was just a necessary ending that we've been working towards for a long time. And I'm just really excited for it putting us in the right position for the future. And there's a lot of things I'm saying good riddance to, and there's a lot of things I'm saying thank you to as well, that I'm just really grateful for. If you find yourself in a similar position where you are struggling with reconciliation of an ending, you're probably going to end up in a position like I did where your three pillars, your fitness, your family, and your business are going to take a hit. My health and fitness has taken a hit recently, partially because of all the stress of the move and, redoing a home. And then on top of that, having to be there for tons of different things, whether it's vendors or deliveries or walkthroughs or inspections or what have you. And then on top of that, the stress of still having the home you're packing up to move, buying new furniture, still running your businesses, still doing the media thing that I love so much, still navigating being a parent, being a husband, being all those other things. Oftentimes something's going to fall off. And that's why it's so important to remember the reason the Balanced CEO was created was to live inside a triangle. That's the theory. That's the formula. And my triangle has been broken, and it's made it really difficult to handle all the stress of all these different things going on. Yes, I know that in the end, these necessary endings are bringing me to a fruitful future. But in the near term, I have to find a way to get a rhythm. I have to squeeze in workouts. I have to really focus on my diet and be really, really, really strategic in where I put myself in terms of restaurants and situations and everything else to make sure that I'm not constantly putting myself in a position where it's incredibly difficult to stick to the routine. And then lastly, I have to remember that it's okay to give myself some grace because I do have so many things going on. And it's really easy to get lost in the disappointment of I'm not where I want to be. I'm a little heavier than I want going into a family vacation. I'm a little bit less fit than I want to be. I just don't feel like myself. But you know what? That's just part of the game. You're not always going to be at 100%. You're not always going to be ready to go. You're not always going to be living in a perfect triangle. The goal is just to find a type of triangle that you can make sure all three of those pillars are harmonized, even if one is just getting a lot less attention than the other two. Right now, my health and fitness is getting the least attention. My business and my family are getting most of it. You just can't let it go to zero. You got to make sure all three sides are touching so that if anything catastrophic happens or anything really overtly stressful above and beyond that happens, you can handle the stress and keep things moving forward and be the rock that your family needs you to be. So just like the book, this is the necessary ending to this episode. Quick wrap up. Endings are necessary. Continuing to push forward when you know for sure that a change of scenery or a move or a career change is absolutely what's necessary to put you in a position where you can be living a life you enjoy. Like, you're only hurting yourself. Other people may be affected by it, but it's your decision. It's your life that you should put first. Unless you're harming your family or yourself by making the decision, it's okay to embrace the end of a season. Even if that season has been 15 years long and been a majority of your adult life. It's time for a new season. With that being said, don't ever forget to keep digging in.